trying out the quick stand for the quick cut greens harvester. It's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to set this thing up and get it going for, I think it's been out for a year at least. So after I saw Eric Schultz at Steadfast Farm using this, I was convinced, okay, it's time to try this out. So that's what we're doing today. We got a ton of microgreens to harvest. Mark's just preparing the sunflower shoots for me to harvest. We've got all these pea shoots to harvest, so we'll check it out and take you through step by step. Okay, so we just harvested some sunflower, and it's a pretty clean cut. You know, you get a little bit hanging off the end, but these are long shoots. Like, these should have been harvested a couple days ago, so that would kind of happen anyways. And that kind of stuff, if it's limpy like that, you probably wouldn't harvest it with a hand knife anyways. So far it's doing just as good of a job as it was if you were cutting by hand, but like obviously a lot quicker.
To the racing.
Yeah. Okay, so that was sunflower, and it's great. Like, this thing is a lot faster than harvesting by hand, obviously, and it's safer. You know, your hand doesn't get anywhere near a blade, whereas when you're harvesting by hand, you have to. So there's more margin for error. One thing we're doing is I'm pushing it through with just an empty flat, and then that guarantees that my hand isn't going to go anywhere near that blade. So I've got a bunch of pea shoots to harvest now, so I'm going to adjust the blade for that. With this thing, I love the simple design with this thing, but there's a little hook basically right here that just holds the harvester, just cams it into place. And so you can adjust the height just by loosening this, and then you just shimmy it down a little bit, and it's really easy to adjust. The other adjustment that's kind of cool is this one here. This basically adjusts the height, because you know, you might not be on a perfectly flush table, so you might have to move this back and forth however you see fit. So far, the only thing that's been a challenge for me is the fact that our greenhouse is really packed tight, and I'm working within like a 2.5 foot wide area. So when I want to go bunch up those flats to take them to the compost, it's kind of a pain. So that's not any criticism of the quick stand, that's just my own context. So let's change this up and harvest these pea shoots. Good to begin. Pea shoots were definitely the easiest one to harvest and fastest so far. Now I'm going to try some shorter microgreens. This is some cabbage. I'm going to adjust the harvester and bring it down. Get it right to the flat. Okay, we can do a few of these now. My conclusion is that this thing is awesome. It saves us a ton of time. The thing that's really good about it is if you're employing people, is that it really mitigates your risk, because you just have the protocol of you never push a flat through with your hand, you push it through with an empty flat, and then nobody's ever going to get cut. So that's great. It really, I mean, in general with everything, it makes everything faster, like significantly. The sunflower and pea, which are the easiest ones to harvest by hand, it's like 30 seconds if you're really good at hand harvesting. Now a couple seconds with this. The thing you got to take into consideration is that you got to dump it, and so I found with the pea and sunflower, I have to dump it each time, and that's okay. That's just kind of, otherwise it gets too bunched up. And so maybe for Farmer's Friend going forward, they could change something or make a greens harvester that was just for harvesting microgreens, that didn't have the basket and maybe had like an aluminum chute or something like that. But for the money, for what this thing's worth, it's going to expedite your production huge. So I think it's worth it based on that alone. The one thing I noticed with the cabbage, which is a lot smaller of a microgreen, that made it like significantly faster. So I think with any of the dry seed microgreens, it really is going to make a huge difference. Whereas with the pea and sunflower, still, probably at least 4 times faster, but not as quite radical as it is with the dry seed stuff. So that's it. I mean, we're gonna keep using this. This is fantastic. Biggest challenge for us is our limited space in here. Once we get into summer, we can probably just have more of a semi-permanent station set up and just have it out of the way more, or we might be able to move things around here where we could do that too, but it's a little bit tight for us just because of the small space between our 2 growing shelves here. But aside from that, I don't have any criticisms. There's certainly some shoots on the ground, but that happens when we harvest by hand as well. So I wouldn't say there's any more shoots on the ground than there is after a big batch of hand harvesting. So that's it. This thing's awesome. 2 thumbs up. I'll have the link to it below if you want to check it out.